Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over Amethyst, Emerald, Crack, set 5. Alright, so this is what I believe the aggro deck of this format is going to be. I know that there's a Amber Amethyst deck floating around, and I feel like that deck is really weak to Grab Your Swords or the songs deck that's going to exist, right? Like the Amber Steel songs deck that's going to exist. Whereas I feel like this deck is taking a shell that was already doing well, tier 1.5 from last set, and taking it to a new level, right? And I think that has a higher chance. And a card like Ursula allows you to deal with Grab Your Swords and let the Storm Rage on, which the other shell doesn't. So let's talk about what are the cards in this deck and the synergies in this deck that I think that allow this deck to be the most powerful aggro deck that's going to be available to us in set 5. All right, so we got Churnabox Followers and Magic Broom, which are okay cards, but the thing about them is that they are very, very synergistic with the library, right? So we can take a look at the library. Whenever a character is banished while here, you may draw a card. So if you put a Churnabox Follower here, or you put a Broom here and banish it, you can draw an additional card, which is extremely, extremely powerful. And so like we have that synergy there while our opponent need to deal with our board, and we can quickly hook up all the characters to the library to recuperate the cards that we're gonna lose, because we really don't care. All we want to do is quest, right? Like, how many 1-drops do we actually have in this deck? And the answer is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. A third of our deck is just 1-drops. Right, then we move on to what are the other 1-drops. We're playing Diablo. This Diablo works in this deck because we can shift this big Diablo, but not only that, we also have this Maleficent to take advantage of this other ability. One of the cards I think that's going to be important in this format is going to be 3 ink uninkable Sisu, which takes care of 1 or less powered things, right? So Diablo being at 2 allows us to dodge it. Obviously we have a lot of other targets, so like that's why we would rather play this card. We don't really care about our opponent's hand. We just want to quest and make sure we have the best board every single turn. So beside the 21 drops, 8 2 questers, we got Ursula, which is gonna like deal with Be Prepared, right? If you're playing against blue red or purple red, or any of the Grab Your Sword cells, right? Whether it's purple steel, amber steel, blue steel, etc. Then we have Madam Mim. This card allows us to beat the other versions of aggro, right? It's going to be a necessary evil. Like if our opponent has playing Daisy Duck, Madam Mim is the thing that deals with Daisy Duck while like progressing our board and dealing with their highest quester. Then we have Diablo. Of course, we know how Diablo can get out of hand, just draw you infinite cards. But if the aggro shells are all playing Amethyst Chromacon, Diablo is something that's going to break the stalemate, right? Like if both players have Amethyst Chromacon but one player has a Diablo, you'll draw twice as many cards, right? You'll have 16 cards while your opponent's sitting at 8 cards. It'll be so ridiculous, which will allow you to have more turns where you go 1-drop, 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 right? And that's where it gets crazy, because you're threatening 8 lore on your turn 4, because you drew so many cards early on that you have such a high probability of hitting more 1-drops than your opponent. And then we have Goat to finish the game. Goat is like the top of the curve. And then we can use Madam M to bounce it if we really need to, but we don't have Snake because the plan with our deck is just empty our hand every single turn and draw as many cards as possible using Amethyst Chromacon. And anything that we can't deal with, we can use You're Welcome to deal with it. And then we have a burn spell, right? Burn is a term that allows us to just use a card and get us to victory, right? So gain 2 lore. If it's not looking good, we can use it to shift Diablo. And then we have Friends on the other side, which we can do on turn 2. You're welcome. A spell book just in case you're unable to finish the game. If they're able to somehow stabilize and you're unable to find goats, you just play this sorcerer spell book and just ding ding ding. And then you got Amethyst Chromacon, obviously one of the most powerful cards in this new set. But the way you want to think about this card is kind of the way that you did Donald Duck, right? There's a downside to it, but you get to act with the card that both players draw first. So how are you going to take advantage of that? Empty your hand as quickly as possible, right? You play this on your turn 2. On turn 3, you want to go 1-drop, 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 right? On your turn 4, you want to go 1-drop, 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 right? As many cards as you can play before your opponent does, right? And then you got your Library and Queen's Castle, which, you know, are going to line up really well against some of your problematic matchups like Amethyst Steel, right? Because Grab Your Sword is still going to be a problem, but if you play it correctly and time your Ursulas correctly, you can definitely win that matchup and play towards the libraries and Queen's Castles instead of the other path of just jamming all your characters all the time against the steel matchups. So this is just a little bit of a deck tech. I'm going to post the deck list in the description below. Try out, let me know how you guys are performing in your locals. The more that you share with me, the more I can continue to improve this deck, right? So I mean, there's a lot of cards that we need more data about, right? Like Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. This is a card that could have another number to it, right? It could be 1 copy, 2 copies, 3 copies, 4 copies, maybe even 0 copies, right? So we need data in order to figure out what's the most optimal build. The more that you share with me on how you do and what cards you liked and what cards you didn't like in specific matchups, the better I can make this deck. And I mean, I'm going to play this as much as I possibly can, but without Pixelborn, we can't get as much data as we were able to before. But if I had to put my money on the breakout aggro deck, I'm still going to put it on Amethyst Emerald Crack for set 5. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.